and welcome to a different type of video on a Monday. I didn't have time to prepare another part of Shadow Piece because I'm currently sick and I wasn't feeling well enough to moderate or talk about the what if scenario because we are entering very big scenarios. So instead I wanted to just talk about the current chapter release from Sunday, even though you probably already read scans or something else. Because I was away from home, where I got sick, I didn't have time to read chapter 1058 called New Emperors until today. So now we are here, and I'm just going to go panel by panel and tell you what my opinions about everything that we learned in this chapter are. First of all, we got a new entry in the cover series with like the Emotionless Excursion, I think it's called. And I don't know why Caesar is so desperate that he wants to get with the Germa people. I mean, I know that he wants to get away from the island, from Whole Cake, but shouldn't it be quite easy for him? I mean, he's made out of gas, so every type of gas. So if he just turns his entire body into like something lighter than air, which most gases are, wouldn't he just be able to fly away from the island? Why is he so in need to go with the Germa people? He could just go by himself. I mean, I'm all up for Caesar teaming up with, what's their name that out there? Ichiji, Niji, and Reiju, I think. But I just think that he's acting more stupid than he's supposed to do. Because he is, after all, a genius scientist, so he shouldn't be that stupid. And then at the first panel of the actual chapter, we see that Luffy got captured inside of a cage and got beaten up by Nami for comedic sake again. So it's for fun basically, because Luffy made the stupid decision last chapter of jumping down the waterfall because the law I think Kid taunted him, and then he needed to jump down to make everything sure. And this is one key thing where I saw a few discussions already. When Jinbei says that it wasn't such a big fall and everything's okay, Nami just shouts back at him that he shouldn't be so nice to Luffy and make sure that Luffy is in control and everything. And that is the moment where Jinbei is just saying like, whoa, was that Conqueror's Haki? Is Nami using Conqueror's Haki? And most things in One Piece start out like a joke like this. So I wouldn't be surprised if Nami or even all of the Straw Hats in the end are going to get like Conqueror's Haki. Because I don't feel like Jinbei, because he's now a Straw Hat, has already been reduced from being very serious to also being a comedic character. So making the mistake for Conqueror's Haki could be logical, but I just don't want to think that he makes a mistake and he actually is thinking that Nami has it uncontrolled or something. Then we go to the thing that most people have waited about for weeks, for months basically, since the last time new bounties got revealed. We are now learning the new bounties for the Straw Hat Pirates. We already learned that Luffy is now at 3 billion and has become a new emperor with that bounty. But now we need to learn what the bounties of all of the other Straw Hats are after this like increase here. Chopper has been recognized as the ship's doctor, but is still also treated as a like pet. Like the title or the name box for him says Ship Doctor, Chopper the Cotton Candy Lover, and then in like quotations, pets. But I'm confused. If they treat him like the ship doctor, they should know he's not just a pet. Which is weird, because just thinking that they treat him like that is just stupid. As a doctor, he should be treated more highly. But his bounty increase is by 900, so from 100 berries to 1000 berries. It's basically an insane increase. I like the biggest increase out of any of the Straw Hats. That's the biggest increase out of any of the Straw Hats. So I guess it's a W in some books. Then we get to Nami, or we can go through most of these in one time. Nami, Brook, Frankie, and Usopp, all of them increased by 300 million berries. Nami is now at 366 million, Brook at 383 million. Then we have Frankie at 394 million and Usopp at 500 million berries. I don't know why they all increased by 300 million. Basically because I feel like they are the less important characters from the Straw Hats, not the focus of the group and the least dangerous. So just to make everything fair, they got increased by 300 million to increase their bounties to hire everybody here. Nami, who's the lowest bounty, like leaving out Chopper, Nami has the lowest bounty out of all of the people here in the Straw Hat crew right now. And now let me tell you, Nami's bounty is higher then Sanji's bounty was before we got to after like the post Wano arc. Sanji's prior bounty was 330 million, and now Nami has a higher bounty. So every Straw Hat has now a higher bounty than pre-Wano Sanji, which is insane because now it's so clear that we are entering the last parts of One Piece. Everybody is now considered like super rookies and the top part of the world. Another fun thing is that instead of like using Frankie's face like they did on his last bounty, they used a picture of the Sunny, which I don't really understand how they got to that conclusion. Because even when Frankie enters his like General Shogun form, he is not like with a merry face, sunny face. So I don't know why that mistake happened, but I mean it's funny, and seeing that Frankie is like with Sunny in representation, maybe that's also a reason to see why Frankie is going to become a battleship in the future. Because if you remember about these things where Oda said how the Straw Hats would turn out if they got into a bad timeline or a good timeline, the bad timeline, like 50 years into the future, Frankie turned himself into a battleship. Maybe that is a like intentional throwaway thing to show like that Frankie might become a battleship in the future. But let's not just spend too much time on this panel. Then we go to the next important thing. Robin had the biggest bounty increase besides Chopper, and the biggest like actual bounty increase. From her, I think it was 130 million, let me check that. Yes, Robin had a bounty of... Robin had a bounty of 130 million berries. And she has a bounty increase of 800 million berry. It's now at 930 millions. So that's an insane increase, because now they finally made Robin as dangerous as she's supposed to be. She is the last person that we know of that can read the polyglyphs. So having her with the increase of 800 million only makes sense, because she is that dangerous and she is supposed to be put on that like pedestal. Now we get to Sanji, Frankie, not Frankie, Sanji, Jinbei, and Zoro. Sanji is at 1.1 billion and 32 million berry. Jinbei is at 1.1 billion berry, and Zoro is at 1 billion 111 million berry. So if we just take these increases in account, we see that Zoro's bounty increased from 320 million to the 1 billion 111 million. That's over 800 million increase. So even a higher increase than what... No, it's not exactly higher. It's around the same level as Robin's increase, because he obviously defeated King and then makes him dangerous. And Sanji's increase is obviously because he defeated Queen, and his increase is lower than Zoro's, which is just... That's just Oda making things up again for Zoro to be like at advantage. The last time Sanji was ahead of Zoro because of everything that happened on Whole Cake Island and Zoro wasn't present, but this time he was present. But for some reason I would really have loved for them to have the exact same bounty this time, because I think when we take this into account, let me calculate really quick how much the increase for the bounties exactly are. Okay, so let me tell you, Zoro's increase is by 791 million, and Sanji's increase is by 702 million. So this is just... Zoro get basically an 90 or 89 million increase more than Sanji. I guess because he defeated King and not Queen. And if we look like at the bounties of King and Queen, we see that both of Sanji and Zoro are still lower than King and Queen, even though they defeated them, which is interesting in its own right, because thinking that they are lower than those two is this stuff that may not make sense. They are stronger than them. They defeated them. So technically speaking, they should be put at least somewhat higher than King and Queen. And then we see that King has a 70 million bounty more. So maybe that's where the increase in Zoro's bounty came from, because King has 70 million bounty more than Queen, which means Zoro has an increase of 79 million more than Sanji. But that's just small stuff, and I'm not sure how it actually makes sense. I just would have loved to see them on like even footing. And Jinbei is now the first time his bounty got increased since he became a warlord, I think. His last like noted down bounty that I have here is 438 million, and he's now at 100 and or 1 billion and 100 million berries bounty. That's an insane increase, like most of the Straw Hats are. And if you think about it, that and it's obvious, that makes Jinbei the second highest bounty in the Straw Hats, besides Luffy. Like leaving out Luffy, just from the not the captain but everybody else, that he's the second highest. Sanji got put out of the monster trio, like everybody said. And Jinbei's increase in this part is exactly 662 million. It's lower than the other two, but it is an insane increase, thinking he just defeated one of the Toby Roppo members. But man, I obviously think it's also part of the government saying he was a member of the Warlords for many years, so now we need to increase his bounty accordingly, because he has grown way stronger than before. And that's just how it is for Jinbei now. And now we see what they are going for next. Straw Hats are traveling on their ship, the Sunny, to the next island, and Nami is basically leading there. But now we come to the biggest part that everybody was hyped for in the last chapter, me like as well, and that is the Cross Guild. We now learn the bounties of Buggy, Mihawk, and Crocodile, and we also learn that basically Mihawk and Crocodile are ridiculed by thinking that Buggy is the leader of them and everything, because the poster was created by the people from like Buggy's group, making they still think that Mihawk and Crocodile are still like they came to Buggy's help because Buggy is so great and they are all under him, but that's obviously not the case. But here we learn their bounties for the first time. Bounties of these two characters are, let me look the panel. Crocodile's bounty is 1,965,000,000. This bounty is higher than Zoro's, higher than Sanji's, and higher than Jinbei's. It's even higher than King's and Queen. And let me look up what Marco's bounty was, because Marco is, as far as I know, the highest bounty from any first commander. So we're just going to look at Marco to see what the highest bounty for that was so far. And he had a 1,374,000,000 bounty. That's actually lower than King. King had 1,390,000,000, but not that it's too important. Anyways, Crocodile has a higher bounty than all of these people, which is insane, thinking that the last bounty we had for Crocodile is 81 million from the time we last saw him on Alabasta. And since then he didn't get any new bounties, or we just never learn about them, because thinking he spent the whole 2 years going around the New World and everything else. So I think he's very likely to have a bounty in between the 81 million and the 1,965,000,000. Now that he is like a member or like the second commander of the Cross Guild or something. And then we learned that Mihawk's bounty, we never learned what like his bounties were before, but his bounty now is 3,590,000,000 berries. I want to compare that to Shanks, because Shanks is obviously a Yonko. First of all, Mihawk's bounty is higher than Luffy's. And now, with that said, that we know Mihawk's bounty, we know that Zoro's bounty at the end of the story will most likely be higher than 3,590,000,000 berries. And this number makes sense. I'm looking for the puns on different bounties, and just if we look at 3 and 5-9, we have Sangori or something. Like, just thinking Zoro's last bounty should have some sort of pun in it, because he uses free sword style or something. So maybe something like with World's Best and then like Santoryu could be like the pun for his last bounty, which would be pretty cool. And we also learn the nickname or the epithet that Mihawk had like when he was still going around before becoming a like member of the Shichibukai, the 7 Warlords of the Sea. He was known as the Naval Hunter or the Marine Hunter, and that changes a lot about him, like as I saw him before. I was just thinking that Mihawk was just a guy who went around fighting against swordsmen until he was proven to be the strongest. But apparently he was actively hunting Marines to prove that he was the strongest swordsman. So he probably had a bounty before that. I was actually thinking that Mihawk maybe did never have a bounty because he was just a swordsman traveling around, and then the Marines asked him if he wanted to become one of the 7 warlords because he's so strong, and the Marines would like to have like him as their like fighter for the future. But apparently he was a marine hunter, so he probably had a bounty before. Shanks' bounty is 4,048,900,000 berry. That is only around 500 million more than our boy Mihawk. So Mihawk in his own way is strong enough to be called Yonko. If only he had a crew under him and everything like the influence that a Yonko person would have, he would be called a Yonko. But it's not the case because he's working under Buggy, or that's what many people think. And he's not really against it because Mihawk likes having like the attention not on him because he wants to live a leisure life like many of these isekai protagonists. And then we also learned Buggy's bounty. Buggy has a bounty of 3,189,000,000 berries, which is the highest increase in a bounty that we have ever seen, because his last bounty was 15 million. That's the lowest out of any of these characters that got bounty increases or revealed bounties this time. Even Crocodile was at 81 million, and his bounty got only increased by like 1,800,000,000 or something, 800 million. So Buggy got an increase by 3 billion and almost 200 million, 3 billion and 200 million. Yeah, Buggy's increase is insane because they think he's the mastermind because of the Cross Guild and the leader of Mihawk and Crocodile now. So that all makes sense, but what doesn't make sense is that they still put Mihawk's bounty over Buggy's bounty. Because this is the first time I think that a crew member or someone working for somebody else has a higher bounty than their leader. So Buggy's bounty is higher than Crocodile's, but it's not higher than Mihawk's. So that's something else you need to think about. Mihawk is still shown to be really, really strong. And we learned something that many people have been talking about since the very thing, that Shanks is not a swordsman and isn't fair to compare him to Mihawk and everything. But in here it says, Hawkeye's Mihawk, former warlord of the sea, with greater sword skill than even Red Hair the Emperor. So this is the final proof that the sword skills of Mihawk are stronger than Shanks. Obviously that leaves up for discussion that Shanks might have stronger haki, and obviously because he has stronger haki, that means he has the higher strength in like overall combat compared to Mihawk. But then there's also Mihawk saying he doesn't want to fight Shanks anymore because he thinks Shanks got too weak after he lost his hand. Now, I don't know if Mihawk is actually stronger than Shanks. I don't think so, but it would still be fun to see how a battle between the two of them would turn out right now and not like in the past when they still battled like 20 years ago or something. But all of that is really cool because now we have all of these bounties that we know and we are in for the big leagues. Now that we learned about all of these bounty increases for the Marines and all of this stuff, not for the Marines, from the Marines for the pirates, I am so waiting for the bounties that the Cross Guild have put out on the Marines. I want to know if Sakazuki's or like, what's his name, Sakazuki or Akainu's, like if his bounty is higher than or on the same level as the Yonkos, or if his bounty is higher than maybe even Rogers. Like the Marine bounties are going to be so interesting as well, because they are going to be a big role in like trying to think about power scaling in the world. Just thinking if the Marines are stronger than the pirates from their bounty alone, and will be interesting to see, and I might make a video about this as well. So the last stuff that we see on these last few panels is that Kuma was actually rescued from Marijois and is now together with the Revolutionary Army again. And we don't know too much about him, but he is now going to tell Dragon about everything that happened there and everything that he has learned. And now the last thing that the cliffhanger of this episode ends on, or the chapter ends on, is that Sabo calls the Revolutionary Army. And all we hear is, "It's me, Sabo." And he wants to talk with them. Because there's still that thing that Sabo apparently killed Cobra. And if that is actually what happened, Dragon seems like he's out for blood. He didn't want something like that to happen. That's obvious from what we have seen from Dragon so far and in these few panels that we see him in here. So he said there will be a reckoning between us, no matter his reason. So if Sabo kills Cobra, Dragon kind of wants to take care of Sabo. He doesn't want this to go out of hand. He did not want this to happen. So if Sabo is the person that did it, we might have a confrontation between Luffy and Dragon, because Dragon wants to get rid of Sabo or something, or is going to beat up Sabo, and Luffy won't allow that. But that's all from that chapter, and I really liked it overall. Like, I would put it on a good, like, let me not rate. I want to rate it actually. Let's say this chapter, if I had to rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, it would be a good 7 or 8. It was mostly exposition of us just learning new bounties, learning stuff about the world and all of these other things. But it was really interesting overall, and I enjoy these kind of chapters. So please let me know in the comments down below if you enjoy some of these chapters, like these types of chapters as well. And if you enjoyed these type of videos, why don't you tell me as well in the comments down below. And if you want more like these, why don't you consider clicking on that like button and the subscribe button. It would really mean the world to me. And once again, sorry for not uploading one of the Shadow Piece videos. I just couldn't get through it with this massive headache that I'm fighting against. And for now, let's hope everything turns out well until Thursday for the next video. If not, we're going to see what is going to go up on YouTube on that day. Until then, I hope all of you stay happy, cultured, and most importantly healthy, because I want to recover my health as well. Until then, take care of yourself. This has been Pyro Prima, and we will see each other in the next video. Bye!